Hi, I'm Timmy Rosa, and today you'll be watching a series of interviews conducted by me aimed at getting down to the core of what it means to be a high school athlete and the impact it has on you after. Team sports have been something that I've been a part of my entire life, and many others have been too. I hope you enjoy what follows as much as I did and learn something just like I did. Thank you. First, we're going to hear from Andrew Caminetti, a longtime friend of mine. So long, actually, we used to walk home from school together. Andrew is a straight-A student and captain of the varsity baseball team this year. He hopes to lead the team to a state championship and repeat as a sectional champion, and his season's going to end in just a couple weeks. What team sports did you play growing up?
Yeah, I played baseball all through my whole life, basketball up until 8th grade, and then football up until 7th.
Has it ended for you, or is it about to end for you?
Yeah, baseball is the only one I still played in high school, and the season's going to end soon. I think the latest it will be is like June 1st or something like that.
Do you intend on playing in college?
Not like D1 or like organized, but maybe club sports, picking it up, intramural, definitely some pickup basketball, but baseball, maybe club baseball would be anything I would do.
Were you originally motivated by your parents or for your love for the sport?
I would say for baseball, definitely motivated by my parents. My dad is a huge fan, and my brother played, and we always were just playing with football outside, so he kind of developed a love for it, but they really started it off. And then in basketball, I was kind of just playing pickup basketball with brothers or neighbors and stuff, and then you just got into organized sports with Westfield.
Would you rather play a lot on a losing team or a little on a winning team?
This is kind of interesting. I think I would play a little on a winning team. So this year during baseball, we've had a tough run, and I've played like a lot, and it's not great to get out there and go, you're gonna lose kind of. And then, but like last year, I played like every game last year, but I think last year was just a lot more fun. And I talked to a couple people who maybe have not played that much, and they said winning the championship was still just as much fun. Like being on the bench and just being in the atmosphere of a winning team is so much better than a losing team.
What was it about team sports that drew you into them as opposed to individual sports?
Yeah, I never played any individual sports. Like the most individualized one is probably baseball, because like it's all about that. But team sports, it's winning something as a team is just much more fun and kind of like endearing than winning something as like an individual. You kind of worked with these kids throughout your whole life. You've played with them since you were 8 or whatever, and then you finally like win something cool together, or you just like developed an incredible bond as a team sport rather than individual. It's something special that like can't be broken.
How do you feel about it ending?
I'm kind of sad a little bit. I know I've loved the sport, and like most of my best friends have come from the baseball program, and but I know I'm kind of ready for it to end. I have run my course. I've done all the work I've needed to do for it, and I think I had a great year. And but it's still sad that I'll never play again with these kids who I played with since I was 8 years old.
Are you relieved that you can start spending time on other activities, or will you truly just miss it?
I think a little relieved. I remember like in the winter when I don't really play baseball, you have a lot more time to kind of relax and do what you kind of want to do. But now, like in the second semester of senior year, going to baseball is kind of more fun. Like you don't have that much work to do anymore, and you're kind of just hanging out with friends, just playing a sport. So I will truly miss it, but I will be able to like spend more time working and then doing other stuff, like other hobbies I would want to pick up.
Do you feel as though there's more glory in team sports than in individual sports?
Yeah, I think glory in team sports is definitely a little higher. I think there is so much glory in winning like an individual like golf thing where it's basically just you. But in a team sport, like last year when we won the state sectional, everybody felt like they contributed and were a huge part of it, and just having fun afterwards and just hanging out with the guys. I feel like that we're gonna get back together, maybe go out to dinner or something, then like kind of reminisce about what was and like how we were just that good, and it was just a fun time to be on the team.
And finally, what's your best memory throughout all your years of team sports? Also, if you have one, a worst memory.
Okay. So I have like two best memories for this one. One of them was going to Cooperstown baseball. It's like a 7-day tournament where you're just out there with your team, your baseball team, and you're just playing all nonstop. And then you sleep in barracks, and this is in like 6th grade, so you guys are all just having fun and just like fooling around with the coaches and all the kids. And then the other one would be winning like a state sectional final with the team, and then just kind of the dog pile on the pitcher's mound, like going against Corey Hiltz and Jake Fallon, all these kids, and like Matt McIntyre, and just hanging out, and like, man, we just kind of won something that's only been won 3 times. It was an incredible feeling. And then I don't know, a worst memory, I will say like losing in the state final last year, it was tough, but like I kind of recognized, hey, this was something special, and it's not a terrible memory. It was just a bittersweet moment. Good.
That's it.
All right.
Next, we're going to hear from another longtime friend of mine, Kate Armstrong. Kate was also a straight-A student at Westfield High School, current senior, and was the captain of the varsity girls soccer team this year. They had a very successful season, and she's just a different input because unlike Cam or Andrew Caminetti, her season has now ended, and she's going to talk a little bit about her feelings and whether or not she has any regrets. What team sports did you play growing up?
The team sports I played growing up were mainly soccer, but I also played in-town basketball.
Has it ended for you? Is it about to end for you?
Yes, all my sports have ended.
Do you intend on playing in college?
I've thought about trying out for club or trying to do intramural soccer, but I haven't decided yet.
What was it about team sports that drew you into them opposed to individual sports?
I like the team sports because it wasn't all focused on yourself. I like the fact that I got to interact with other people, and it would help me like make friends growing up and everything. And then after I made those friends, I sort of just stuck with them.
How do you feel about it ending?
I was really sad when it ended. Honestly, me and the other seniors on our varsity soccer team had been really close and played soccer together for a while, so having it end was an unfortunate experience.
Are you relieved that you can start spending time on other activities, or will you truly miss it?
I will truly miss it. I definitely loved soccer growing up, and it was a big part of my life. And now that it's mainly over, especially the high school season, I find myself spending more time with other people, but again, it's like the same people that I had played soccer with originally, so I still miss like playing soccer with them and everything.
Do you feel as though there's more glory in team sports than in individual sports?
I feel like in individual sports, you can say that everything was down to just you, but in team sports, I feel like it's harder because you have to work with a bunch of different people. And as a result, when you win, it's the entire team coming together for one goal.
What's your best memory throughout all your years of team sports? Worst memory?
I would say that my best memory through team sports was my junior year on the high school soccer team when we didn't end up. We tied the county finals, but it was just as a team, it was probably the best team that I'd played on. And then my worst memory, Do I have to say worst memory?
No, it's fine.
My nose? Oh, I got one. My worst memory was probably breaking my nose on our senior day game against Scotch Plains. That was an unfortunate experience too.
Do you feel as though the risks of playing contact sports are worth the benefits reaped?
I think they are. For soccer, they can be. The only people I've known that have gotten injured and stopped playing was because they basically just didn't want to play the game anymore. It wasn't because they ended because of a specific injury, but I know that a bunch of other sports, like football, the problem with concussions and everything is really hard, but with soccer, I find that it makes people stronger almost.
Thank you.
Are you done?
She is a sweetheart. Now we're going to hear from another longtime friend of mine, Dylan Alfano. He played varsity lacrosse this year at the high school. A very studious kid going to Indiana University business school, Kelly, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the good times he had. But he takes a very different approach from Andrew and Kate, whereas they take the more shy, humble approach to things. He's definitely much more out there with how he talks. Yeah. All right, take 2. Dylan Alfano. What team sports did you play growing up?
Growing up, I played lacrosse, football, baseball, soccer, and tennis.
Has it ended for you, or is it about to end for you?
Well, in high school, I only play lacrosse, so I don't play the other sports again. And we're entering the playoffs now, so it's close to ending, and that would be the end of my career.
Do you intend on playing in college?
I don't intend on playing at like the varsity level, D3, D1, but I'm serious considering playing club sports.
What was it about team sports that drew you into them as opposed to individual sports?
Well, individuals, God damn it, Tuffy.
Come on, why? Why are you doing this? Why are you fucking doing this? You're wasting...
Alright.
God fucking damn it.
Ruggiero is watching this.
I know. That's a problem.
Give me your phone. Let me say something in the fake group chat for you. Or just say when.
Ruggiero is watching this. Dude, why do you have to do this in the middle of the interview? Couldn't have waited?
Do you intend on playing college? No. You answered that already, right? What was it about team sports that drew you into them as opposed to individual sports?
Well, individual sports, you're all by yourself, and the pressure's all on you, and you don't have the chance to really create a bond and create relationships with teammates and have that community within your team. And I think that's what drove me in, just being with the teammates and having someone to count on, and and just like building those bonds and relationships.
How do you feel about it ending?
Definitely not happy that it's ending because, like I said, it would be the end of my high school sports career. These sports I've been playing for, my whole life. So that's not sad. But there is also a happy part to it because I get to celebrate all the time I had playing sports and look back and really just, like, celebrate how I did love playing the sports. So.
Are you relieved that you can start spending time on other activities, or will you truly miss it?
Well, now that the schedule is opening, there's a lot more room for activities, but...
Alright, just fuck that question. Like, honestly.
Nah, yeah.
You can't use the word activity. Do you feel as though there's more glory in team sports than in individual sports?
Well, in individual sports, like I said before, you're all alone, so... If you win, the glory's all on you. No one else can say. No one can take that away from you. No one can say, "Oh, you won because of this person." Mm-hmm. It's all on you. But team sports, you do have that glory to celebrate with your teammate, and everyone come together and really just work as one unit. And if you win with a team, I think that's awesome, and you have the glory.
So, what's your best memory throughout all your years of team sports, and what's your worst memory?
Well, my best memory of like youth sports was going to Cooperstown with the baseball team, and just we're there for a week with the team, and we actually did very well. Came in like 25th out of 100 teams, but I have to say high school is winning the county final my sophomore year. That was a great experience just to celebrate that with my boys. And my worst memory is on the opposite spectrum, just losing the county final. We lost it this year, and it was really just heartbreaking. And yeah, just seeing that locker room is a very sad atmosphere, and we wanted to win so bad, and we just couldn't get it done.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. So that's it for current student athletes at Westfield High School, or at least current seniors, I should say. Now we're going to hear from Miss Maddie Armstrong, who recently graduated. She is a sophomore at Wake Forest and is Kate's older sister. She wasn't as successful as an athlete as Kate was. She's going to talk about how her greatest memory was from the JV soccer team. But obviously the Westfield girls soccer team is very competitive, so any level here is very impressive. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Growing up, I played a lot of team sports. I played soccer mainly, When I was younger, I did basketball.
When did you
Those were it.
When did you stop playing team sports? Are you still playing?
I stopped playing soccer when I went to college.
When it ended, did you fully appreciate the fact that it was over?
I don't think I initially did, but looking back on it, it's definitely kind of something that I miss, and I do appreciate the sport and having the teammates there.
Looking back now, do you have any regrets that perhaps you didn't appreciate it enough, or that maybe you put too much importance in it?
I think maybe I didn't appreciate it enough at the time, because I do miss it, but I don't feel like I have really any regrets about it.
Do you miss playing?
I do miss playing.
What's your best and worst memory?
My best and worst memory, I think worst memory would be losing in the state tournament my senior year for Westfield, and the best memory would probably winning county finals as captain of the JV team.
Have you found anything to replace what you got out of team sports?
I don't think just one thing I found to replace it, but just going to college, living with everybody, having a solid group of friends, being able to do things all together is kind of why I liked playing soccer. So just having those sort of activities to do with everybody has been nice.
Now we're going to hear from longtime family friend John Devon. He played ice hockey for Harvard for 4 years. He made it to the national championship twice. Did not win either time, though, however. He is a Boston native but lives in Westfield now and has 4 kids. All 4 of them graduated. All 4 of them, 2 boys, 2 girls, all 4 of them played sports for Westfield High School, and one of them actually plays lacrosse for Vanderbilt. And he was also a longtime coach of mine. So we're going to hear his input. So to start off, your name and where you grew up.
My name is John Devon. I grew up in Braintree, Massachusetts.
What team sports did you play growing up?
Team sports I played growing up, I played hockey, baseball, and soccer. Those are the 3 sports that I played growing up.
And how do you think team sports impacted your life?
Team sports impacted my life in a lot of ways. It's great to be part of the community of being on a team, relying on other people, having specific roles that you play. It's really important that you're able to rely on other people and really form a team bond, which is something special.
When did you last play team sports?
I last played team sports, about 3 or 4 months ago when I played a pond hockey tournament up in Lake Placid. But last time I played team sports in high school was a long, long time ago. It was 1988.
Dad? Dad?
Hi, buddy.
Yes?
Hi, buddy.
Can you make the dog go away?
Oh. Gotta get the dog out. Animal control.
Would you like?
We can cut this.
Would you like to ask me that question again? Do it again?
No, because I think he came in at the end, so I made sure I started talking after you were done. I think that was fun. That was when did you last play team sports? Yeah. So when you played your last game on a team, did you realize that it was over an organized team? Did you realize the impact that it would have on your life?
Yeah, when I finished playing team sports, it was kind of a depressing time. You realize that, hey, listen, you might not be with this group of guys and ever again. But you also kind of know, playing hockey especially, that you're going to continue to play, men's league hockey and do things like that. Best part about it is you always have those guys who are going to be friends of yours forever. You always get together for reunions, and once you make that bond, it never goes away.
So what team sports have your kids played?
My kids have played hockey, baseball, lacrosse, both boys and girls lacrosse, gymnastics, which I would consider somewhat of a team sport, but also, kind of individual, and also swimming, which is the same. It has some team activities in swimming as well.
How would you say team sports today are different than team sports when you were growing up?
The big difference in team sports today is that you're asked to specialize sooner. You don't get a chance to play as many sports as we all used to go from sport to sport to sport, and everybody played 3 or 4 sports. Today, everybody's asked to specialize a little bit sooner, and I think the helicopter parenting is probably a little bit more than it was back in our day. Our parents would just drop us off and let us run.
So how many years have you played team sports for?
Played team sports since I was 7 or 8 years old. So I played for 15 years back in elementary school, high school, and college, and then have still continued to play team sports to this day, playing on men's league hockey teams and stuff.
Why do you think it is that team sports seem to have such a disproportionate impact on people's lives, given how few years most people actually play them over their lifespan?
Well, I think that the reason why team sports are so influential is you're having shared experiences with people. Doubts about your capabilities. You got all sorts of other things going on when you're playing team sports as you're going through adolescence and growing up. So there's so many things that are shared experiences that you're going through that are new that you can share with your teammates, and it leaves a lasting impression.
Yeah. Greatest memory from your years playing team sports, maybe your worst memory, would you like to share them?
So my greatest memory of years playing team sports would be winning the state championship in baseball when I was in high school. Worst memory was losing the national championship in hockey my sophomore year in college. So it's really about winning or losing, and the impact those games have on you.
So what had the biggest impact on your life, your greatest victory or your most heartbreaking loss? Which one do you think had more of that?
I would say the more the heartbreaking loss. You think it's much more introspective. What do you need to do to get better? What can you do to be able to improve? How can you help other players in your team improve, that type of stuff. So the losses stick longer than the wins do.
Right. What coach did you have? What coach did you have that had the greatest impact on you, and why?
I would say the coach I had was my baseball coach in high school. Had the greatest impact on me. His name was Don Fredericks. We didn't like him at all. He was a good coach, but he was hard and he was cocky. So we kind of played in spite of him, but we took on the team kind of took on his mentality in relation to the other players, the other teams. We intimidated other teams, and then we played in spite of him, and we won a lot of games.
What teammate had the greatest impact on you, and why?
Greatest teammate impact would have been a goalie who was a couple of years older than me, named Steve Conley. He was a senior when I was a freshman in high school, and I was just getting a cup of coffee with the high school team as a freshman, and he was the one that kind of indicated to me that I was good enough to play in college. And he said, "Look, you keep it going, everything will go well." And it was really nice to me when he was a senior, which was really helpful in my growth.
Did you get more satisfaction out of team sports or individual sports?
I never really played any individual sports. I only played team sports. So got most of my athletic, satisfaction out of playing team sports. Some of the sports like baseball, you're doing a lot of individual actions. When you're up at bat, you're all by yourself up there. But at the end of the day, hockey was my favorite sport, and part of that was that everybody had a role on the team. There was a lot of camaraderie in the locker rooms, a lot of camaraderie before and after games, and it was just the ultimate team sport, even more so than baseball was.
Have you found anything to replace team sports in your life since they ended?
Difficult to find to replace team sports, that's for sure. But it translates a lot to whatever you do in your work world. We do a lot of things, try to do a lot of things at work that are collaborative and that bring everybody together, and that have incentives and have some kind of fun challenges around it. But you add that to continuing to find a way to to play sports in like men's leagues and stuff like that, it's tough to replace. So you just try to grab onto everything you can and keep it going if you can.
So now we're going to hear from another longtime family friend, Jim Tonella. Jim Tonella was the manager of my club hockey team for a long time, Cranford Hockey Club. And in high school, he played track. He ran track, played a couple sports. Wasn't the most athletic kid, though. But it is very interesting to hear conflicting viewpoints on what the past was like, how the game has changed, and where these people think the game is going. He has multiple children. One of them, Trevor Tonella, is currently a lacrosse and hockey player at Westfield High School junior. And so we're going to hear from him and hear how he differs from some of the other adults. I'm going to start off with your name and where you grew up.
Jim Tonella. I grew up in Paramus, New Jersey, which is North Jersey, Bergen County.
And Jim, what team sports did you play growing up?
Growing up, I played the traditional sports for my age, which were baseball, football, basketball, track and field, things of that nature. We never had lacrosse or soccer or games like that growing up.
How do you think team sports impacted your life?
Team sports impacted my life quite a bit because it led to me having a network of friends, taught you how to do things in a team environment for various things, whether it was school or other things you had to do. Team sports kind of introduced you to what was your role in the team. Sometimes you're one of the better kids on the team, sometimes you were one of the lesser kids on the team, and it taught you how to learn to fill a role within each team.
When did you last play team sports?
I last played team sports in an adult softball league probably 10 years ago. That was last team sport.
So when you played your last game on a team, did you realize then that it was over? Did you realize then the impact it would have on your life?
I probably did know because I was older and a lot of my friends were getting serious injuries and my wife was not too excited about me continuing to play team sports. So I probably knew it was over. I probably was not aware of the impact it would have on me and how much I would miss it.
So what team sports have your kids played?
My kids, I have 2 girls and 2 boys. The girls played softball, soccer, some volleyball. Boys played hockey, lacrosse, flag football, soccer, those kinds of sports.
And how are team sports today different than team sports when you were growing up?
I'd say the biggest difference between when I played them now is parental involvement. When we were kids, there was one dad who was the coach and he just basically got the equipment and organized things, didn't really do much. Now the parents are very involved, whether they're coaching or not, the parents are involved, they want to know what team you're on. It's all very organized. In our day, you played the sports and even if you didn't have the scheduled game, if you were playing baseball, you played baseball all summer, even if you didn't have a league to play in. Now it's all very organized and structured.
For how many years did you play team sports?
I played team sports probably from the time I was age 6 to through high school. Played team sports in college and then as an adult. So what is that? Maybe 30 years, something like that.
Why do you think it is that team sports seem to have such a disproportionate impact on people's lives, given how few years most people actually play them over their lifespan?
Yeah, because I think it happens in your formative years. You play team sports when you're young, and that's, again, you kind of learn how to either be part of a team or not part of a team, how to get along with people or not get along with people. So I think being involved in those formative years, it takes up a big chunk of your life, especially if you're really into it. It's a lot of your focus.
So, your greatest memory from your years playing team sports, your worst memory?
My greatest memory was in college. I played on an intramural softball team and we won the championship. We beat a team that was a bunch of meatheads that had won it for 4 or 5 straight years. And I had a big hit in the game, so it was largely exciting, but pretty modest compared to great standards of great accomplishments in sports.
And do you have a worst memory you'd like to share?
Worst memory, I remember in Little League, I was probably 10 years old and I dropped a fly ball that cost us a game. That was pretty crummy.
What had the biggest impact? What had the biggest impact on you in life? Your greatest victory or your most heartbreaking loss?
Probably greatest victory because it inspires you. I think you learn a lot from the losses, but I think the victories are what inspire you to do better or work harder, do more, become more of a team player, those sorts of things. So I think you definitely learn from the losses, but I think the victories are what inspire you.
Right. What coach did you have that had the greatest impact on you and why?
My high school track coach was a bit of a lunatic, and he used to say, when you didn't really want to practice or work hard, he'd say, "That's it. Say your prayer. Please, Lord, make me mediocre." So he used to inspire you to want to do a bit better and push you in a kind of entertaining and fun way.
And did you have a teammate that had a great impact on you, and if so, why?
Yeah, when I was growing up, there was a kid that I played with who was way better than me at every sport. So I always tried to keep up with him, and he kind of motivated me to want to get better at things. And he went to the Air Force, and he was very successful in the Air Force because he was kind of an overachiever. So, difficult to keep up, but it was always inspirational.
Right. Did you get more satisfaction out of team sports or individual sports?
I always liked team sports because I liked hanging out with people and the interaction and interpersonal things. Individual sports kind of get boring after a while. I run now, so I do individual sports, but I always enjoyed team sports a bit more.
And finally, have you found anything to replace team sports in your life since they ended, or?
I think getting involved with my kids' sports. So unfortunately, what I was talking about before about parents getting too involved in sports, I think especially our generation has embraced their kids' sports as a way to replace what they did in team sports.
Thank you very much. He's a real character, I'll tell you. So next we're going to hear from another longtime family friend, Ken Tanji. He played hockey at Yale. I don't believe he ever made it to the national championship, but college hockey is college hockey. And he's going to talk about, you'll see some similarities between him and Mr. Devon especially, but most of the other adults. You'll notice a lot of them have the same viewpoints on certain things, and when asked the same exact question, give the same exact answer. So this will be another interesting treat for you. Okay, so your name and where you grew up.
Okay, so my name and where I grew up. My name's Ken Tanji, and I grew up in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, which is a suburb just north of Minneapolis.
What team sports did you play growing up?
Growing up, I played hockey, football, and baseball.
How do you think team sports impacted your life?
So the way team sports impacted my life is in many, many ways. First, it's all I really know. I always played team sports. It's kind of what I gravitated to, mostly because I liked the team aspect, hanging out with guys, playing with your friends, having each other count on each other, during games, during practice. It just, it was all about being part of a team.
When did you last play team sports?
I'm still playing team sports. So I play with your dad. And we play pond hockey, and I play in the summer during men's league hockey games.
So, what team sports have your kids played?
Similar sports. Our girls played soccer. My son Gavin and daughter Anna played hockey, and they also ran cross country, which is also a team sport, and a little bit, and also lacrosse.
So when you played your last game on an organized team like college or high school or whatever, did you realize then that it was, kind of over? Did you realize then the impact that it would have on the rest of your life?
That's a great question. I don't think I realized my last game when I played it. My last game was in college, and it was midway through the season my sophomore year. I had just gotten hurt, and it was going to be a bit of a recovery period. And it was pretty clear I was going to be a borderline varsity player, and I decided that it was time to focus on other things in life. And I remember going into my coach's office, telling him that I wanted to focus on being a doctor. Didn't end up being a doctor, but that's what I was thinking about at the time, and decided I had run my course playing hockey.
So how would you say team sports today are different than team sports when you were growing up?
Different a little bit. Just the emphasis today is much more on specialization, playing a couple sports or one sport and focusing to do that as well as you can. In my day, you played many other sports. You just kind of moved from one sport season to season, and it was less about specializing and getting as good as you can in one particular sport, but playing them all as best you could.
How many years have you played team sports?
Like I said, my whole life. So I'm 53 years old. I'm still been playing team sports.
Why do you think it is that team sports seem to have such a disproportionate impact on people's lives, given how few years most actually play them over their lifespan?
Yeah, I think what team sports teaches you is really accountability, counting on each other to accomplish a goal. You can't win team sports by yourself. It takes everybody on the team, and it's not just how you perform, but also how you get others to bring out the best in them as well. And so when that carries over to almost every aspect of your life, so whether you're working and trying to accomplish a business goal, or you're involved in a family situation, when you put other people's interests ahead of your own, that's what team sports is all about, and tends to bring out the best in people.
So what's your greatest memory from your years playing team sports? Worst memory?
Best memory, good question. It's probably nothing specific, but what I loved about team sports is just hanging out with friends. The time in the locker room before games, the time after after games or practices, being a part of a group that's kind of united in a single purpose, trying to again, bring out the best of each other. That's by far what I enjoy about team sports the most. It's not so much, what you do in the activity or the sport itself, but it's the unity and spirit that you develop as a player.
And did you have like a specific worst memory or anything like that?
My worst memory actually was when I was a sophomore in high school. A teammate of mine who was a senior at the time was in a fatal car accident and died. And it was shocking at a young age to see somebody go so quickly, and being such a close teammate. It was something felt by not just myself, but the team as a whole.
Sure. So what had the biggest impact on you in life? Your greatest victory or your most heartbreaking loss? Like, it's just a big life-changing event.
Our biggest victory is my junior year in high school. We won the state championship football game. It was the first year played in the Metrodome in Minneapolis, but probably more so, we were really favored to win that season. But partially through the season, our star running back Tracy Martin, who ended up playing for the New York Jets, came down injured and actually didn't play that season. So my good friend Kermit Klefsis actually stepped up and was the lead running back, set all kinds of records as a junior, again stepping in for who was supposed to be that star that season. Also during that season, another car accident involving two teammates, our captain and another one, took them out for a better part of the season. So we went into the season thinking we were, had a good chance to win the state championship. Midway through, it didn't look so good. But then a whole host of other people stepped up, and we ended up winning it.
So what coach did you have that had the greatest impact on you, and why?
I had a number of great coaches, from my hockey coach, George Larson, who went to Brown himself, helped me to get into a school like Yale. I didn't come from a town or an area that anybody thought about going to Ivy League schools, and so he was the one that really guided me and helped me and promoted me to get recognized and a chance to play college hockey. My baseball coach, Doug Darnell, was about as fine a character as a man you could imagine. One phrase I remember today that I carry with me every single day is proper preparation prevents poor performance. So whenever I get into a tight spot or I know something's on the line, I prepare. And I've found it has helped me get through some pretty challenging times with that simple statement. So, and my football coach, who I just saw last week, came to my mother's memorial service. Another outstanding person, and taught me to be competitive, put faith in me, and had a competitive spirit second to none. So those are the people I've really looked up to and feel really fortunate to have as a coach.
did you get more satisfaction out of team sports or individual sports?
I never really played individual sports, so
Yeah.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
I enjoy golf. I like tennis. I'm not that good at either one of them. So team sports is all I really know.
Have you found anything to replace team sports in your life since they ended?
Yeah, I don't know if you really replace it, but you can find team spirit in many ways. Particularly, I find it in the business environment. You know, when you work together with people. A lot of the same dynamics also apply to a lot of business settings or anything you do professionally. So yeah, from time to time, I always find myself gravitating to, encouraging each other, helping each other, and making each other better.
Good. Finally, today, and after this it is a wrap, unfortunately, we have John Humiston Sr. of Westfield. John Humiston is not like the other three adults I have here today where, Ken was from Minnesota, John from Boston, and Tanella from Paramus. John Humiston is a Westfield High School native. He went to this high school, I believe, in the 70s and played alongside famous football player David Keller, who the field is now obviously named after. So his experience is one that I could not wait to get to, and I think you'll find very interesting. All right, so just start off with your name and where you grew up.
So my name is John Humiston, and I grew up in Westfield. I've lived in Westfield now for 50 years.
So what team sports did you play growing up?
So the sports that I played growing up were wrestling and football.
How do you think team sports impacted your life?
In a very positive way.
When did you last play team sports?
So played in high school up to my senior year, wrestled and played football, and then at college I played intramural and club sports. So that's probably the last team sport I played with when I was in college.
When you played your last game on a team, did you realize then that it was all over? Did you realize then the impact that it would have on your life?
I think at the time I did not. So we're going back to high school at that time, being 18 years old. Didn't really feel that until later on in life when I had a chance to look back in retrospect, realize how much fun it was and how much I really missed it.
What team sports have your kid played?
So my son John plays hockey and golf. He also played baseball for a majority of his life, but gave that up to play golf.
How would you say team sports are different today than team sports when you were growing up?
So I think the difference in sports today with kids is that kids tend to focus on one particular sport at a younger age and kind of stick with that sport. And that's different from when I grew up where kids played 1, 2, and most of the time 3 sports throughout the year. So I really think it's the focus that a lot of parents have on their kids to single out that one sport and stick with it from a very early age throughout high school. That being a big difference.
How many years did you play team sports?
Throughout grammar school, middle school, and high school.
Why do you think it is that team sports seem to have such a disproportionate impact on people's lives, given how few years most actually play them over their lifespan?
Well, even though they only play it for a short amount of time, I think it's the memories that last a lifetime. So you carry on what you learn not only in the sport of how to play the sport, but how to be competitive on and off the field. And those are life lessons that you kind of, you apply that to life later on in life. So it's not just the time that you're playing, but it's what you learn throughout that short period of time that you apply to the rest of your life.
Greatest memory from your years playing team sports, worst memory?
Good memory, probably one of the funnest memories was in middle school when I played football and got most improved player in the 8th grade.
You have a worst memory? Or?
Worst memory probably after we went 11-0 in high school when I was a junior, losing our first game against Summit our senior year.
What had the biggest impact on you in life? Your greatest victory and your most heartbreaking loss?
So probably the greatest victory was playing at the Meadowlands. I was a junior at the time. We did go 11-0 in that season, and we beat Barringer at the Meadowlands. So we had 35,000 people show up for the game, which was pretty neat. And that memory of just not just the win that day, but what led up to it. The several months prior, and we actually got to practice in the Meadowlands earlier that week on a Tuesday and Thursday with nobody in the stadium, the lights on, and just kind of walking out and hearing your voice echo throughout the stadium. That was a thrill that probably will last a lifetime.
What coach had the greatest impact on you, and why?
No hesitation. It's Gary Kaler. Probably, without a doubt, the greatest coach that I was fortunate enough to play for. Gary had a way of, the life lessons that you learn from Gary, not just on the football field, but the things that he taught and, was able to apply that later in life. He was a guy that practiced execution over and over and over again, and he had great emphasis on, he was a great student of the game, and he wanted to make sure that you act appropriately not only on the field but off the field, and his years of coaching will stick with me forever.
What teammate had the greatest impact on you, and why?
The greatest teammate that had the greatest impact was, without a doubt, Butch Woolfolk. I was fortunate enough to, for those that don't know him, he was probably one of the best football players to come out of the state of New Jersey at that time. Went on to play for Michigan and then later for the New York Giants. Butch had a great personality. Even though he was a superstar, he didn't act like one at all. He was very much down to earth, and myself being a junior and not playing even that much, no one knew who I was, but he certainly made it a point to develop a friendship with me, since our lockers were next to one another, and opened up and talked freely about different colleges that he was getting recruited for, some of the hardships that went along with that. Being that there were so many people knocking on his door, and it was tough at times for him, and for him to confide all that information with me at that time at a very young age had probably the biggest impact on me.
Did you get more satisfaction out of team sports or individual sports?
And I played both. So I said I was a wrestler, and that was pretty much an individual sport, and playing football. And I guess looking back, the camaraderie that a team sport brings to itself is probably, I found to be most desirable.
Have you found anything in your life to replace team sports since it ended?
I think family and friends pretty much kind of equal the team spirit. So I'd have to say probably family and the friendships that I've developed over the years are probably the closest thing to a team.
And that's it all, folks. Throughout this journey, I learned a lot, and I hope you learned a lot as well. I embarked on this task in the hopes of making a good documentary, but more importantly, finding closure for myself. Ever since my career ended, I have not been able to sleep the same way I once was. And I think I've found just that, closure, through this process. Because whether you're 18 or 80, you still think about the times you had during team sports. It was unfortunate that not everybody I interviewed made the cut for this documentary, because a lot of people came to me and wanted to have their voices heard after my parents told them I was doing interviews. I didn't want to waste too much of your time, and I hope I didn't. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something.